Hello everyone and welcome to another video, and today we got the new online time trial challenge, and this one is at Catalunya. So I managed to get the 59th place in the world. I did a 40.4, although I think I could have done a lot better lap, but just I wasn't putting in that much lap times, but it was good enough to explain all of the things that I did, and I think this lap should stay in the gold range by the end of this challenge. So guys, without further ado, let's get going. And let's get going with the track guide and this challenge, where I believe it's quite easy to get the 2 million credits. So first point is on the left. So just as soon as I pass this mark, I start braking in the straight line. Don't turn too quickly, otherwise the car will lose a lot of grip and you will eventually slide over these curbs. But you want to get as much of that curbing as possible. So you can see that I'm quite careful how I manage my turning, but I really use a lot of that curbs. In general, you always want to get very close to the curbs here and looking at that point. So it always depends on the angle where you will start putting the throttle down, but if the angle is right, that's about okay to put the power down. I don't think the angle will matter that much. You just have to be careful about that point, as well as the one here. So I would say braking a little bit in the straight line and almost immediately going into the turn, downshifting into that second gear. And this is the point where I start accelerating. So not a very, I would say, very aggressive acceleration point. You really need to be careful because the car is going slow and you're in second gear. So if you want to take the most out of it, I would be careful in that second. So here is another braking point. Just as soon as I get to that point, I try braking in the straight line and downshifting here into first. Sometimes it can be useful to even get on the curb and rotate the car, but that can be quite risky. You can lose the car there, and it's always second gear on the way out, otherwise the car is very unstable in that first. So here it's another braking point and it's another downshifting point. You can downshift, but I would still recommend even maybe staying in that third to get the stability. You will still be able to reach the gold, but second is quite risky, I have to say. It rotates the car quite well, but it's risky. So here, kind of the same situation. You want to rotate the car as much as possible. You can see it's quite rotating. I mean, it's downshifting plus trail braking into the turn, which makes the car turn quite a lot. I think I should have downshifted a little bit later, but it was okay in the end. So that was quite risky. You need to rotate the car, but it still needs to kind of stay in line. But here it's kind of the same thing. You're braking in the straight line after the point on the right, and you can see I'm rotating the car while downshifting into the first. You want to get onto the curb, but just make sure do not start accelerating in first gear. Upshift into second gear. And this is another point where I would say that I slightly tap the brake. So nothing much, about 50-60%. I think it's going to be mostly enough. And until you get to that curb, you want to stay off the throttle. So in general, if you start putting the throttle down, it will just push you wide and you will lose a lot of grip. And that will cause a lot of understeer, a lot of unwanted understeer. And I have to say about this one, I tap the brakes. I don't think you even need to touch the brakes. You just have to use more of that track on the right. So that was my bad. I mean, not braking, just a little lift and going and using a lot more of the track. As well as that curb, you can use a bit more curb here. I think I kind of got it right, but I think you can still carry a little bit more speed, and the downshifting point has to be done a little bit later. But in general, it's a 40.4. I think it's going to be more than enough to get the gold. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed in this one, and if you got any questions, please feel free to ask me down in the comments and I'll try to answer. And guys, until the next time, bye. let's get into the 39s.